Hi everyone, I'm Zan, your astrologer, and welcome to your weekly energy update, a general intuitive reading taking a look at how this week's energies are likely to influence our lives and emotional states, both individually and collectively. It also contains a divine guidance section and also things to be careful with. Now, I have to be totally honest with you guys, even at the risk of losing my subscribers or even my livelihood. In my 20-year experience of doing tarot and forecasts, intuitive work, I have never ever experienced anything like this. So I will try my very best and my very hardest to somehow crystallize my thoughts or what I'm about to say to make as much sense as it is possible, because quite frankly, I'm not even sure what I'm picking up. I'm not 100% sure how to interpret these energies. If I would have to conclude everything in one sentence, well, that would be, we are truly entering the unknown very, very soon, both individually and collectively. And perhaps certain energies are so very delicate, maybe quantum entanglement, for example, that there is no way to kind of generalize it. This is where it's almost like the emphasis is put on the individual. It's almost like how things are going to be playing out collectively cannot 100% be known or even anticipated, because we are going to be doing something individually, and it is the cumulus of each individual's energy which will determine the outcome or where things are going to be going. But one thing is for certain, this is where perhaps rationally, logically, at least at this time, we might not able to understand the karmic forces, the divine at play, maybe all the, down to earth matters, the real life issues. Well, they have to make sense because we have no choice. But those are just the smaller things in our lives, smaller things, which lead us to the future. If we try to look at the spiritual side of this and somehow try to process it rationally, because that is imperative. We are human beings, so there has to be a little bit of rationality and everything. Maybe this week or maybe all of April, we might not be able to make too much sense of it. And that is not necessarily a bad thing. This is not negative. This isn't even polarized in the classic sense. What I'm picking up here is, an octopus has 8 arms, and it can stretch those 8 arms in 8 different directions. Or, another example, the 8 corners of the world. So this is where duality is not really a theme. It is not really made possible because there are way too many sides at work, and each side, each direction, each component energy of reality is going to be doing its own thing. So if there was ever a time when things are very, very multidimensional, but that time is certainly right now. And what is more important is that it's not that we didn't have this before. We had so very many moments in 2019, 2020 when things were very obviously multi-dimensional, so it wasn't really anything that we could have grounded ourselves into. Things were very not black and white, not really up and down. They were so very, very complex, but that was more like psychologically and an energy foreshadowing this. But now, just take a look at the cards. Very strong earth energy. So now it is actually entering reality in a telluric way, so it will definitely affect us physically and our material lives and everything that has to do with the earthly plane as well. And I don't really think that any one of us alive here today has ever experienced this kind of shift or transition or maybe metamorphosis before. So I don't think anyone has a very valid picture or a really crystal clear idea or vision of what is about to come. But what is pretty clear to me is that it's here. So all we have to do is observe, live, try our very best to process it, and ultimately accept it, because certain things will not be in our power to change it, to prevent it, to transform it into whatever suits us personally. So acceptance will be a massive theme here. But I must repeat, since it is not positive or negative, it is not really polarized or dual, it isn't really susceptible neither to pain or despair or happiness or joy. It is just certain things rearranging from a very quantum perspective. Now for today's reading, our cards are the Nine of Pentacles, the Empress, and the King of Swords reversed. And I would like to begin with the very last card, the King of Swords reversed. Well, this speaks to us both individually and collectively, and it basically means that many things are not going to go according to plan. Many things are not going to make sense. That which we anticipate or that which we are almost certain about is not going to show up, and that which we do not expect, not even intuitively, that might very well just pop up in our lives as a total shock and surprise. So first of all, if things don't really go according to plan, if things don't take the logical and rational turn, I don't think you should worry at all. You shouldn't really get into panic mode. Neither should you even go within yourself and ask yourself why or how or what you should do next. Because this is the kind of energy where, regardless of our intellectual, emotional, or spiritual mastery, we're too small to truly process of what is going on right now in this very moment. So the best thing we can do is just allow, because chances are a lot of positive, helpful, useful coincidences can also enter our lives, and they can also change everything. You know, when our plans don't follow a certain kind of logic, when our plans don't play out the way we expect them to, well, sometimes it is actually positive things that change the picture. Surprises, delights, good fortune, being at the right place at the right time. Or maybe there is a big theme here playing out. Things that we really work towards, we ambitioned ourselves towards, not in the recent past, but perhaps 2 or 3 years ago, and we ultimately had to surrender them, we had to give them up. Maybe out of nowhere, something just shows up. Maybe it's like something just drops from the sky as a manifestation of something that we truly desired a couple of years ago, much to our surprise and delight, and that can be absolutely everything. So a lot of us, a lot of individuals are going to have a very, very surprising week and even month, and it is even possible for all these things to head into the month of May as well. But maybe it is right now when we have to get used to it, when we observe this very unusual energy playing out for the first time. So both the Nine of Pentacles and the Empress speaks about manifestation. Yet the energy is not linear, in the sense that when we think of manifestation, well, you know, we planted seeds, we worked, we did a lot of things in our power to accomplish whatever we desired. And of course, then there comes the time of harvest, when we reap the fruits of our labor. But this time is not in a very linear way like that, because whatever manifests might come from the past, the distant past. And for some people, this King of Swords reversed can actually represent that it comes from the future. As if, almost like, it may sound a little bit crazy, things that we necessarily need and we don't even know it yet. We're not aware that we need them or we are aligned to something. They just pop up in our lives unexpectedly and they catch us by surprise. And maybe only after a month or week of truly processing it can we realize that, well, this was actually from the future. This all makes sense now, but not in a linear way. And also, what is very important, this is where our emotional states, our thoughts, our frequency might not really be correlated to what we are going to have in our lives at all. This is where neither intuition, neither spirituality, neither the logical way of going about things. For example, if we want good things, of course, we have to embody higher frequency. We have to stay hopeful, optimistic, etc. We have to watch our thoughts. We must make sure that we don't defeat ourselves, that we do not allow traumas to have an impact on us and a grip, all of the usual things, the rational, logical way of going about things. This is where not even this part of reality might make absolutely sense whatsoever, because we might be depressed or we might be in panic mode, we might be stagnating, disconnected, procrastinating, and out of nowhere, for no logical reason, something very beautiful just happens in our lives, and we may not even understand how this was actually possible because we were living a not so positive frequency. Or let me just give you a totally different kind of example. This is where perhaps you might have received divine guidance or even advice from your loved ones or someone who cares about you, that you have to work, that you have to keep on your path, that you have to invest time and energy in order to accomplish your goals. So this also means that inside of you, you accepted the fact that this will be a longer term process. So you prepared yourself to put in the time, the work, and not expect a lot of things to quickly enter your life. And something just happens which defies all logic, and it can even be the end result, which even is beyond your wildest dreams, just pops into your lap, and you just wonder how this might have even been possible. So this Nine of Pentacles definitely means material well-being, it means resources, it means that something really helpful and more importantly empowering might take place in so many of our lives, regardless what shape and form that takes. And chances are how it takes place is really unknown at this time. And if we combine this with the Empress, well, for a lot of people, this is where love or partnership or the support and sympathy of other people might just shower their lives. This is where some people might not really be looking for love right now. They might be focusing on something else. For example, if you have to rearrange your career, you have to upgrade your material life, well, you know that dreaming about love is not going to be constructive right now. So you made a list of priorities and you're focusing on something, and unexpectedly, the biggest love story of your life just comes in and cancels all your current plans. But of course, again, I must say, there is this very strong element of unpredictability. So I don't think our intuition or our sense of logic, not even our life experience, can actually warn us or prepare us for any of this. So we might be totally blind to it. We might be just going about our usual business, focusing on whatever, we have in our lives right now, living the now, and something hopefully overall positive just happens and it changes everything. So in conclusion, I do believe that, at least individually speaking, there is going to be some kind of blessing, some kind of unexpected, helpful and useful manifestation taking place in all our lives. And chances are that it will go against what we think, it will go against how we are used to experiencing even karma, even the spiritual world at play, basically. So, another example, maybe you're looking for a job or trying to change your career, and something totally different enters your life, either as an opportunity or a huge amount of resources, where you will no longer want to start a career, but do something totally different with your life because you will have the resources or the support. Or maybe you are self-employed and you're looking for new business, you're looking for new, business opportunities, and a job is going to be offered to you, but one which is beyond your wildest expectations, and without you even suspecting or lifting a finger or having to do anything in this sense. Or yet another example, something which is really typical of this Nine of Coins. Let's say that you're really immersed into work, into your passion, into your hobby, and you're doing it. You might even be very, very successful, and you might even enjoy yourself. It might make you feel really alive, and something just happens which gives you the opportunity to take a very long holiday and disconnect from everything. And it's not positive or negative because you were immersed in your passion, yet how can you refuse such a wonderful divine gift? And for other people, well, it's definitely gonna be in matters of love. This is where perhaps you're not expressively looking for love right now because you have other stuff in your life and it just pops up out of nowhere. Or if you're looking for love, maybe the kind of person you will fall in love with is not gonna be what you expect. It's not gonna be what you think is the right person, right partner for you. But of course not in a negative way, but as a total shock and surprise. This is where truly unusual attractions, alliances, and partnerships can take place. So even though this is so very unusual and chaotic and times that we just have never ever experienced before, I do believe that individually it is going to be quite a positive and delightful energy. Now on the world stage and globally, it is a totally different picture because this King of Swords reversed kind of counters both the Nine of Coins and the Empress. This is where maybe there's gonna be like a big economic crash out of nowhere without anyone being able to anticipate it. And also this is the kind of situation where one man's loss, or maybe one country's, one culture's, one industry's big loss and catastrophe will represent another one's gain and another one's blessing. If you're into cryptocurrencies and everything that has to do with financial predictions, etc., well, this might be a really, really intense and active time for you, where even though you might not be able to predict exactly what will happen, if you roll your dice correctly, you might hit jackpot, so to speak. It might turn into something big, despite the fact that the big picture globally, economically, is gonna be quite doomy and gloomy. And another side of this energy, globally speaking, of course, well, this Nine of Pentacles and the Empress represents big nations, very, very strong power players on the world stage. shocking the rest of the world, either through a gesture, either through maybe terminating unexpectedly an alliance, a relationship, a partnership, a diplomatic connection, this King of Swords reversed, or they kind of reveal something, a disclosure, for example, they publish something which will shock the whole world, and basically it will send the diplomatic harmony of the present moment, internationally speaking, into a kind of chaos. Or on the other hand, it can also represent this Nine of Pentacles and the Empress, that a big power player internationally will use its economic power, its money, its influence in a very unusual and unpredictable way. Of course, this doesn't necessarily have to be something negative. It is just shocking and surprising, and it changes everything. Last but not least, another expression of this energy can represent a different kind of unexpected, a different kind of surprise, where something happens in the world which might not be of political nature. It might be something economical or something, coins energy, material, as in the earth, maybe a calamity, or something happens, and this King of Swords reverse represents that even international power players who weren't allied before will join forces to help one another, solidarity, unity. Something triggers a unlikely alliance or an unlikely global solidarity. So nations joining forces for one purpose, and that purpose is definitely either humanitarian or something for the greater good. But it can be all of them at the same time. That's why I mean it's so multi-dimensional. Now at the Divine Guidance section we have the Four of Swords and the Five of Wands. Well, on one hand, this does without a shadow of a doubt represent that certain things are just not going to make sense, and the best option in this case is to accept it and just observe, just to live it, just to allow. And from a different perspective, while this can represent a strong sense of powerlessness, where we have no influence, where we have no power, no matter what we decide, what we choose, what action we take, what we speak, communicate, will not make any difference whatsoever, not even for our own situation, for others, for the world in general. And yet, despite all of this, this is where the divine advises us that sometimes in life that is the greatest power and the greatest blessing, because exactly when we don't have any power and influence, and that, look at that Five of Wands, that is our inner will, that is our passion, sometimes obsession, and passion many times plays out as competition, a fight, a battle with ourselves, battle with a situation, battle with our obstacles, our limitations, other people, power struggles in a couple, at work, relationship, etc. So sometimes exactly when we don't have any power or influence anymore, that is when we, without even knowing, we open up quantum doors for the unexpected to enter our lives. Because when our willpower is quiet, we surrendered, that is when there is little or almost zero resistance. It is almost like a void. It is almost like the ether. And when there is ether, everything that travels in it, it is much, much quicker, because nothing can resist, nothing can stop it, nothing can slow it down. So chances are, for some of us, this state and feeling of powerlessness will turn into a massive blessing. So the divine guidance here is to allow, because sometimes simply allowing is the best and most powerful manifestation technique. Now at the to be careful with section, what the universe advises us against. This is really unusual because it says that this is one of those moments, both in our individual lives and also collectively, when you look at this emperor and the world, the divine is in total control. The divine wants to do something or accomplish something or steer everything to a certain direction according to its own wisdom, its own intelligence, its own plans, and ultimately its own will. And that is what we're going to be experiencing collectively. So what it advises us against is more like a spiritual, almost religious principle. And some people might really disagree with this. Some people, this is the spiritual trigger of some people. You know, there is that Christian saying, let thy will be done and not mine. It is almost like the Our Father prayer, where we surrender our will to the universe, to the divine. So basically, the universe advises us that if there was a time when we have to practice this principle, that time is now. Because those who are wise, those who are truly enlightened, will give their total trust to the universe. Because one way or another in this period, as I said, not just this week, but this month and even into May, even into, June, July, eclipse seasons, the divine plan, the divine scheme, fate itself is going to be playing out, and there is nothing to stop it, and we cannot change it, transform it, alter it anymore. So if we might insist our wills to be done the way we see it, the way we think it, that kind of puts us against the divine will, and we have no chance to win or to accomplish anything like that. Of course, usually the divine actually encourages and wants us to embody our own will however we see and think it, but not when it's actually ready to manifest something big collectively. And this is also the correlation between the guidance and to be careful with. There was a time when we had to, focus on what we want, let our will be done, etc. Give the Caesar what is rightfully the Caesar's. But now the time has come for us to allow the big divine architect, the very essence of existence, to do what it needs to do for itself. Of course, all of this to be understood and taken spiritually and philosophically, and not in everyday life, not in small things which, are part of our usual daily routines, but it's more like destiny-wise, etc. So the bigger things in a person's path in life. Now, this concludes today's reading. I know it was unusual, and believe me, it was even more unusual for me, because how does one kind of decipher that which is way beyond my human understanding, my life experience, and everything that I have studied and ever learned in this lifetime, or even other lifetimes as well. But this is my very best. This is what I could have done. So I hope you enjoyed it and you found it useful. Thank you for everyone for all your likes, all your shares, all your beautiful comments. And wish everyone a magical and very surprising week. Until next time, bye for now.